There is a sound I will never forget. It is not music. It is not rain. It is not even silence. It is laughter, the kind that does not come from joy, the kind that comes from cruelty, the kind that echoes in a little girl's chest long after the room has gone quiet. And the people laughing were my family. My name is Sarah. I grew up in a home that had everything on the outside: a big house, a respected name, a father who wore a suit to dinner. We looked like the perfect family in every photograph. But photographs do not show what happens behind closed doors. They do not capture the way a mother's eyes go cold when she looks at one child differently from the rest. I was the third of 4 children. My older brother Daniel was the golden one. Tall, confident, the kind of boy who won every school award and received a standing ovation just for walking into a room. My sister Grace was the beauty, elegant, graceful, exactly what my mother had always dreamed of raising. My younger brother Ethan was the baby, protected, adored, never questioned. And then there was me, Sarah, the quiet one, the slow one, the one who stared out windows during family dinners instead of joining conversations, the one who read strange books about business and inventors and people who built things from nothing, the one who brought home a school report about starting a company at age 14 and was met with silence, and then, softly at first, laughter. A business? You? My mother had smiled the way people smile when they are not actually smiling. Sarah's sweetheart, leave that to Daniel. I told myself it did not hurt. I was lying. School was not easy for me. I did not process things the way other children did. While Daniel absorbed information like light, I had to work 3 times as hard just to keep up. Teachers were kind, but kind in that quiet, careful way. The way people are kind to someone they have already given up on. By the time I reached 16, my family had settled into a comfortable belief about me. I was the dumb one, not said cruelly every single day, but said enough, in small moments, in gentle redirections, in the way my father would turn to Daniel whenever business came up at the table, in the way my mother would sigh, just slightly, when I spoke too long about an idea. But here is what none of them knew. While Daniel was collecting trophies, I was collecting something different. I was collecting knowledge. Not from textbooks, from the world. I read every biography I could find of people who had been told they were nothing. I studied companies built from garages. I watched interviews with founders who had failed 5 times before they succeeded on the 6th. I did not know what I was building yet, but I knew I was building something. And I knew, with a quiet, unshakable certainty, that one day the laughter would stop. What I did not know yet was how completely, how publicly, how permanently that day would arrive. At 18, I left home for college on a partial scholarship I had applied for entirely on my own. I did not tell my family until the letter arrived. I remember setting it on the kitchen counter and watching my mother read it. Watching her eyebrows rise, not with pride, but with surprise. The kind of surprise that says, I did not expect this from you. Daniel laughed. Not meanly. He was never mean on purpose. But he laughed and said, "Look at Sarah, sneaking off to college. What are you going to study? Daydreaming?" Everyone at the table smiled. I picked up my letter and walked upstairs. College was the first place in my life where no one had already decided who I was. I studied business. I struggled in some areas and surprised myself in others. I discovered that what looked like slowness in me was actually something different. I saw patterns. I saw connections between things that other people missed. While my classmates were fast, I was deep. And depth, I was learning, had its own kind of power. In my second year, I met a woman named Dr. Elaine Marsh, a professor who had built and sold 2 companies before returning to teach. She saw something in me during a class presentation. After everyone else had left, she stopped me. "You think differently," she said, not as a criticism, as an observation. "I know," I told her. "My family thinks that means I am less." She looked at me for a long moment. People who think differently are the ones who change things. The question is whether you are brave enough to stop apologizing for your mind. I never forgot those words. I carried them like armor. After graduating, I did not go back home. I moved to a small city, rented the cheapest apartment I could find, and began working. I took every job that taught me something. Marketing, operations, product development. I was not building a resume. I was building a foundation. 3 years in, I launched my first company. A small software platform that helped independent retailers manage their inventory online. It was not glamorous. It was not celebrated. My family did not know about it, and I did not tell them. But it worked. Within 18 months, we had 400 clients. Within 3 years, we had thousands. I reinvested everything. I hired slowly and carefully. I made mistakes and fixed them without panic. And I kept going. Back home, life continued as it always had. Daniel had joined my father's firm and was doing well by every traditional measure. Grace had married someone important. Ethan was finishing school, and Sarah was probably struggling somewhere, doing something small. That is what they believed. Then came the call that changed everything. A large technology company sought one of the most recognized names in the industry had been watching my platform for over a year. They wanted to acquire it, not partner with it, not invest in it, acquire it. The number they offered made me sit very still for a very long time. $47 million. I remember the silence in my apartment after I hung up the phone. The refrigerator hummed. A car passed outside. And I sat there in my small living room with the secondhand sofa, and I thought about a kitchen table, about a letter on a counter, about the sound of laughter. I did not cry. I was past crying. I called my lawyer instead. The deal closed on a Thursday. I flew home the following Saturday, not to announce anything, not to perform anything. My grandmother's birthday had brought the whole family together, and I had promised her I would come. She was the only one who had never laughed. She was the only one who used to sit beside me, look at my strange books, and say quietly, "Keep going, child." I walked into that house the same way I always had. Quietly, without fanfare. It was Daniel who brought it up. He had seen something online, a small industry article about the acquisition. He did not know it was me at first. He was actually telling the story to my father at dinner, impressed by the number. 47 million, he said, shaking his head. Can you imagine? I can, I said. The table went quiet. I did not raise my voice. I did not rehearse a speech. I simply told them, calmly, clearly, that the company he was reading about was mine. That the deal had closed 3 days ago. That the girl they had written off 20 years ago at this same table had just signed the largest transaction any of them would likely ever be connected to. The silence that followed was the most satisfying sound I have ever heard. My mother's face moved through several emotions I could not fully name. My father set down his fork. Daniel stared at the table. And my grandmother, my tiny, quiet grandmother, reached across and took my hand without a word. That was enough. That was everything. I am not sharing this story for applause. I am not sharing it to embarrass the people who doubted me. They were doing what they had been taught to do, measuring worth by speed, by surface, by comparison. I am sharing it because somewhere right now there is a girl sitting at a table where she does not feel seen. A girl being quietly redirected toward smaller dreams by people who love her imperfectly. A girl who stares out windows because her mind is too wide for the room she is in. I want her to know something. Your silence is not emptiness. Your slowness is not stupidity. The fact that you see the world differently is not a flaw. It is the seed of something they cannot yet imagine. Keep going. The check will come. If this story moved you, share it with someone who needs to hear it today.